This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, y'all, welcome. Oh my gosh, it's January 23rd. I can't
Uh-huh.
believe it. This month has been crazy. My name is Kim. I'm one of the moderators here for the MS group. We're gonna go ahead and just go around the circle. I'll call on you. Tell me what your name is, where you're from, when you were diagnosed, if you're on any disease-modifying medications, and if you needed time tonight to talk. So my name is Kim. I'm from Des Moines, Iowa, relapsing remitting, diagnosed 2012, and I'm currently on Ocrevus. Frank, you're next. Welcome. Introduce
My
yourself,
name's
please.
Frank Austin. I am from Plainville, Kansas, out in the middle of nowhere. And I mean, if you put a map in the United States and put it right in the center of the United States, you got me, right where I am. I was diagnosed in 1997. I have secondary progressive MS, and I am not on anything. And I do not need any time tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Frank. Mike, welcome. Introduce yourself, please.
I live in Tubac, Arizona, although I'm from Michigan originally, and I'm a Lions fan. I've been a Lions fan for 6 years, and 65 of them have been horrible. Anyway, this is a good year. I want to take my hat off to Mario also, and there's another woman from Gaylord. But anyway, I have, like Frank, second progressive now. Um, I had a checkup at Mayo Clinic last week. They gave me a psychological test, and it was after 3 years. And I'd like some time, Kim. I will inform the group about my decline and that sort of stuff. And I look forward to speaking a little bit later. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Okay, we'll skip Karen because she stepped away. John, welcome. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi there. I'm John. I live in Big Rapids, Michigan, which is on the central west side of the state. If you get lost, it's just right there. I was diagnosed with relapsing remitting in 2016. I am on Zeposia. And what's your last question?
Did you
Do I
have
need
do you
time?
have time to talk tonight?
Um, Only bragging time,
Okay.
success time, so everyone else can go first.
Okay. Thank you, John. Okay, looks like we have someone new today, Mrs. with MS. Welcome. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, yes. I didn't know what to put as my name, so I put that. But my name is actually Amy, and I'm from Georgia. And we have had a bit of cold weather down here too. We just got above 32 today. So I am amazed at how you guys can handle all the cold weather because it's been quite chilly down here. I have relapsing remitting, and I was diagnosed in 2014. I am currently on Briumvi, and I've now been due for my infusion for probably about 3 weeks, but I'm dealing with insurance and all the issues that come with that. And so I would like to pose a question, but that can wait till later.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go through introductions and we'll get to you then. Thank you for coming. How did you hear about us, Amy?
You know what? I can't even remember. I saw it somewhere and I added it to my calendar, but I think it's been probably over a month ago. And then I saw it pop up tonight and I joined it accidentally. I joined the prostate meeting an hour early
Yep.
before this meeting. And maybe it was from the Focus magazine, the Focus newsletter that went out. I don't know if you guys do anything with that, but maybe that's how I got it. I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm
I,
I
super
don't
I,
glad
think
you're here.
I don't think the focus is the MS Foundation. I think the MS Society now puts it out, but I don't think the focus does.
Okay. I
But
saw it somewhere.
anyway, we all have MS. It's like, can you remember where something happened?
I have trouble with that.
Most
I'm
of
like,
us do here.
that's why I put it on the list.
All right. Well, thank you, Amy, for joining us tonight. Sherry, welcome and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Sherry from Michigan. Go Blue and Go Lions. Diagnosed in 2000. Oh, gee. Gosh. 2008. And I'm not on any medication. My neurologist was kind of on the fence about me being secondary progressive, so I don't know.
Did you need time tonight, Sherry?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Carmen, welcome. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everybody. It's Carmen from Canada. If I could change my screen name, that's what it would be saying, as most of you would remember, except welcome, Amy. So I'm on the west coast of Canada in Kelowna, British Columbia, and we have just finally had melting weather as well. It's been freezing effing cold is what I really want to say. Like, I mean, our minus 30 is your, I don't know.
I know minus 40 is the same in Celsius and Fahrenheit.
So yeah. Anyway, it's been cold. So, and we had lots of snow, and my poor husband had to be out there like moving snow on our property with the tractors. He's been freezing too. Anyway, I'm Carmen from Canada, Kelowna, Canada, and I have primary progressive MS. I was diagnosed in 2014, and I'm on Ocrevus. I have got some stuff I need to work through, so I would like some time tonight, please.
Okay. Thank you, Carmen. Andrea, welcome. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, I'm Andrea. I live in North Carolina on the Outer Banks. I have primary progressive MS or maybe secondary progressive, not primary, I should say relapsing remitting, maybe secondary progressive or maybe just smoldering. But from all the crap I've been hearing on the YouTube, smoldering MS, I don't know. I have no idea. I am on Ocrevus, so with that, I'm not supposed to have relapses anyway. So, anyway, I don't think I need time. Oh, diagnosed 2012.
Okay. Thank you. And then Karen, welcome and introduce yourself, please.
I'm Karen. Like Carmen goes, Carmen from Canada. I want to have Karen from Kansas, but I'm not in Kansas.
Karen from California works.
Karen from California. That's true, but it's such a big state. But from the San Francisco Bay Area in Oakland, where the weather is warm.
San Fran.
No, yeah, we don't. Or Frisco. Like, don't say that. Because San Fran, if I go to San Fran, it's called the city.
Right.
But anyway, I'm in Oakland where the weather is warmer than everywhere else, and we are coming out of our cold 6 weeks of cold weather. And usually by February, you don't even, usually by February, it's that bone chill is gone. But
Did you just have to wear a light jacket?
well, you almost always just have to wear a light jacket because the summers are cold. You know, like they say, the coldest summer I ever had was the coldest winter I ever had was a summer in San Francisco, and it's true. When I first came to visit, I would ask someone I was staying with, "Do I need a jacket?" Because Karen, you always, "Do I need a jacket today? Is it going to be cold?" It's oh my god. So Oakland is warm. Anyway, that's where I live, and my neurologist is in San Francisco, and I haven't seen her for 5 years. On the last Monday of January 2019 is when I got diagnosed. And I remember driving home from San Francisco going, I have what? I don't even know how I made the drive home. Like, I have what? After being told I don't have MS. So it's kind of funny. I thought it was a little odd when Kim said she was going to have an anniversary party, and I'm not going to have a party, but it is kind of, you guys, 5 years. That's 2019. January just would have been yesterday to the day. I don't remember the date exactly, but so I was diagnosed right up with primary progressive multiple sclerosis, my friends who have relapsing remitting. But on my chart, now the way they say it is I have non-relapsing progressive multiple sclerosis. Non-relapsing.
Have you
So
have
you
you have you had no relapses, Karen?
I had symptoms from the time I was 50, and I didn't get diagnosed till I'm 72, so I can't do the math anymore, but 5 years from 72, whatever that comes to, is I was diagnosed. That, even though I had symptoms and it was, you're old, it's in your head, it's this, it's that. So by the time I actually said, I need some answers, that was, I wrote down, and I think this is a much better diagnosis, and I wish the neurology world would know, because I wrote down what she said, because she said it several times, and I was in shock. And I drove home thinking, and I came home and a friend happened to call. I said, I have permanent progressive multiple sclerosis. And my friends, that's what it is. It's permanent, it's progressive, it's smoldering. That I think that's the most accurate description of it. So I don't take any disease modifying therapies, and because of my age, and yeah, I have a lot to share, but I like to go after Carmen because she covers half of my issues.
Karen, can I ask you a question?
Uh-huh.
Did you say that the neurologist wrote that down as your initial diagnosis, non-relapsing primary progressive?
That would be a lot, but I'm in my office and I'm cleaning up stuff, so I'm going to look at that, what it said. It was more what she told me, but then I got medical records, a couple of years ago, and I thought, well, why does it say that? And why is it behind arthritis that I never had? It's just insane. It was just insane. So she might have told me whatever it was. It was all like, I don't know what to think.
Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you, and we can when you have your time to. So I apologize. Thanks, though.
But 5 years ago, it was only primary progressive, relapsing remitting, secondary progressive. And now on the MS Society website, you'll be very hard pressed to find information about primary progressive MS. So again, it was hard to find information, and now there's even less. So you really feel like a weirdo, like I've got this thing and everybody else has something else.
You are unique, Karen.
I am unique.
You're one of a kind.
And it's the most destructive form of the disease because there's so little help for us,
Yeah,
Like
but
sucks. I'm sorry, I'm not
but
trying
you're
to.
older,
That's
but you're
probably why
older.
they don't want to tell you about it, because it's more destructive. They don't have
Well,
any
yeah.
disease modifying therapies.
I
Mhm.
was told it's not the one you want to have. And when I was diagnosed, that neurologist, the second time I talked to her, she said there really shouldn't even be a difference. It's really, these categories are often driven by the pharmaceutical industry. It's much better to, get started with the 20-year-olds.
Yep.
Okay,
That's my cynical report.
we're gonna go to Amy, and Amy, if you want to tell us anything about you or your story, or what was your questions that you had, since you have a bunch of people that have MS here, or good
Yeah, it's
group
great.
to bounce things off of. So the floor is
Absolutely. Yes,
yours.
it is. I've now been diagnosed since 2014 and have, had situations in my life. I stopped working 5 years ago, and actually went on disability, and and I have seen a progression in my disease. I've tried Ocrevus. I'm now on Briumvi. I was so early on Briumvi that my insurance wouldn't even cover it. So I fall every day. So there's a lot of things going on. But I'm not hopeless. I believe that something will arrive. I just hope it's going to arrive soon enough to help us before we get too old and before it's too late. But what I'm revisiting is a little bit of information from my initial diagnosis. I was diagnosed, or I went to a neurologist based on my primary care doctor saying that I couldn't like touch my finger to my nose with my eyes closed, and that I had been having balance issues. And so I, of course, delayed going to see that neurologist. It took me about 4 months to go. And while I was sitting in the waiting room, I decided to list out all of my symptoms. And before he called me back, I was certain I had a brain tumor. And then I get back in there and he was like, oh, I bet you're really worried about having MS or about having MS. And I'm like, oh, I'll take that over a brain tumor. And he said, I don't think you have either. He said, I think you have a B12 deficiency. I don't know if anybody else has heard this before about B12. And he was like, that you have the typical symptoms of B12. And he said, he was leaving the door, he was leaving his office. He turns around and he hands me a script to get an MRI. He almost left without giving me that MRI order. Well,
Yeah.
I go get it. And at the time, I didn't realize that MRIs are read almost instantly. It took him a month to call me back, October 31st, 2014. And he calls me and he said, I am so sorry to tell you, but you most definitely have MS. I had so many lesions on my spine that my doctors are surprised I can still walk. But I've had no new lesions in the past, it'll be 10 years this year. And I have been on disease modifying drugs. But I am experiencing a worsening of my condition. So I'm thinking, I'm missing, there's something missing. And so I've gone back to this B12 and come to find out, I did some micronutrient testing about 3 years ago. I don't know if anybody else has done anything like that, just to kind of see where you're deficient and stuff. Well, it came back that I was deficient in several areas, but that I also had this genetic mutation. It's called the MFTHR, basically the mother
Yeah.
genetic mutation.
Methylfolate. You're talking about
Yeah,
methylfolate.
yeah, methotetrahydrofolate. I think that's what it is,
Yep.
the actual name of it. Well, come to find out, I've got the two worst allele combinations. It's like a C77 and A128. Well, I've got both of those. Well, I finally decided to research why it took me 3 years. I don't know. But come to find out, all of having this genetic mutation puts me at a higher likelihood of MS. It also puts me at a higher likelihood that I can't synthesize B12. And this is not just me, this is everybody. If you have this genetic mutation, you're not able to synthesize the B12, therefore you have to take what's called methylcobalamin, and you have to take it as an injection because that's the only way your body can absorb it. And then it helps produce, I think, what's called glutathione. I don't know what that, I'm not a doctor, I don't know these words, which helps to feed your mitochondria, which helps with remyelination. Has anybody else heard of this before?
No, but it sounds super interesting.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard about the methylfolate. Yeah. And all
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I've heard about all that.
When you're done with, presenting, can you you don't have to do it now. Put some of that stuff in the chat because I'm like, what did she just say? But don't do it now. Just because, I want to find out about what you shared.
Yeah.
Where resources like whatever you've gathered as sort of an information. If there's a few you want to share with us, you could send them by email if you don't have them handy right.
I have so many, and I've just really started this in the past 2 weeks. And almost all of them come from the national, like the NIH Health Library, published by PubMed. We're talking probably 50 or 60 articles that I've come across that talk about how it's the micronutrients that are not feeding us correctly that creates the problem. And it makes me say, why are we not talking more about nutrition? There's a nutrition element here that we're not feeding our bodies the way we need to. And why there are not more studies done on this. Why do we have so many studies on everything else, but not on this?
Not
Um,
So
enough
that
food.
so that the companies that make our food can make money. The amount of chemicals in the food, I mean, it is so hard and so expensive to try to eat healthy in the United States of America. And I'm a firm believer that not just multiple sclerosis, but most of the autoimmune diseases are caused by the food that we're fed.
100%.
At least
Yes.
in part, in part.
Well, and I think all of our genetic makeups are different, but that this is what sparks us to dive off into Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, lupus, all of these other autoimmune diseases. And and why
Diabetes,
is it?
rheumatoid arthritis. Yeah, the
Yes,
list goes on and
it
on and
goes on
on.
and on. And I was asked to be a part of an interview about a month ago because this person knew I had MS, and she wanted me to come in and talk about mitochondria. Have you guys heard about mitochondria and its connection? I had not heard about it, so it made me research, which also helped me dive into everything else. But
They're
when
the
our
powerhouse
cell,
of the cell.
yes,
Mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell.
yes.
Hmm.
Well, well, guess what? Mitochondria dysfunction can
And is it
create
also,
all of these. What's that?
I mean, because I was told straight up about the microbiome. Is that what we're talking about too?
It is definitely involved in this. It's this mitochondria in all of our cells and how it's supposed to feed the cell to make it basically is like the power generator. Well, with MS, it seems like the mitochondria are not working properly. And why is the mitochondria not working properly? It's because it's not getting these other nutrients. But I'm sounding like I really know all of my stuff, and I don't. So I need to
So,
kind of like stop.
We understand that. What was the
yeah,
second?
so
Because I wrote down B12, and what is the other thing you said is nutrient deficiency? What was the other? The B12 and the
Yeah. Okay. So B12, your body has to be able to absorb B12. So there's simple blood tests, I believe, that will tell you that. I lack what's called the intrinsic factor, so I can't absorb it. I have to take it by injection. But I also, when I did this micronutrient testing, realized that the regular B12, which is what's called cobalamin, isn't going to do anything. I have to have what's called methylcobalamin. And this methylated state of B12 is what's needed to get through that MFTHR genetic mutation. And what I'll do, because this I know seems like a big data dump, but I'm going to send you line by line the websites that I have found. And what's shocking, guys, is that they all essentially say the same thing. And they're not, you know what they are? It's more of the functional medicine. It's not the, what we would call medicine, doctors prescribing drugs.
Western medicine, what we would call Western medicine. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So
so
B12, when
so
you don't have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
so one thing I've noticed since I was diagnosed over 10 years ago, and I don't mean that any of what you're saying isn't right and correct, but there always seems to be something that they're working on, something that they're trying to tie in to multiple sclerosis because they still don't even know what causes it and how you can treat something that you don't or cure something that you don't know the cause of it is beyond me. But they it was vitamin D, it was clogged veins going up into the brain for a while, it was the microbiome for a while, then it was a lot of these BTKI inhibitors, and so there's always something new and good. And then as an MS patient whose brain has got holes in it, I feel like I have to work to be a PhD to understand all of this stuff. and
But now we have
it's really
Amy. Now we
Oh,
have Amy to help us.
I know.
yeah.
Like you sound like a good researcher.
I just have time to research. And I actually worked in healthcare for 20 years. Um, Not on the research side, but I worked on the marketing and data analysis side of things. And so I agree with you, Andrea. Yes, they don't even know what causes MS. And yet here we have drugs. And I know several of you have said you're on Ocrevus. I've been on Ocrevus, but I had such a bad gaps period with the MS, with my like in between infusions, that I was waking up every day thinking it was worse, it was worse, it was crazy. And I want to think, what are these drugs doing to us? They helping us now, but what are they going to do to us later? I don't know. And it feels like
Well,
there's money
and
attached to it.
all of these higher efficacy drugs are still teaching the doctors and the researchers things, right? So they're figuring out that, oh, we can stop the relapses. Yay. We can slow down the spots on the MRI. Yay. But people are still getting worse and we don't know why.
Yes, and that's where I am. I don't have any new lesions, but I am definitely worse.
Me too.
And it sounds like
I
you,
don't have
Andrew.
new lesions. I don't have new lesions either.
You
So, in
don't?
fact, no, I don't have new lesions. And even the lesions I had because of my age, when I got diagnosed, I
Uh,
was showed because the first neurologist told me I don't have MS. He insisted I had myelitis. And I'm like, but I just keep getting worse since I met you in September. And now it's December or November. It just, I can feel it. I can feel it constantly. That,
yeah.
yeah, and then I got referred to the demyelinization specialist, and that took a while. And you're not alone with these experiences of just about everybody here had to find another doctor, had to find somebody else. This was, this nightmare of a process. And where did you say where you get care? Because I missed the very beginning of.
I didn't mention it. No, I'm at the what was called the Multiple Sclerosis Center of Atlanta, but they have diversified and now they're Neurological Institute in Atlanta. I'm thinking about changing over to the Shepherd Center, which is an excellent resource in Atlanta for spinal cord and MS. But I'm also looking at a functional medicine doctor, though. That one that, and what's crazy is that it was my GYN doctor who recommended that I do the micronutrient testing, and that she's the one that prescribed me this methyl B12 injection. It's a compounded drug, and so it takes a prescription. Now, I tried to get this prescription from my MS doctor, and he didn't even know what it was, which is concerning to me because
Yeah.
what if this is like a big cause of the problem?
Have you
Which,
have
Amy.
you have you listened to from the MS Focus, Dr. Ben Thrower?
Yes, yes.
Have
He's
you
with
listened?
the Shepherd Center.
I know, and I'm real picky, and I worked in healthcare, and I'm really picky, and I complain very freely about anything, and I only pretty much John's like, oh yeah, we know that, so, but I listened to a few of his talks. I didn't go when they do it, but I watched a few of the videos, and one was from quite a few years ago, and I have to say everything he says is just brilliant,
Mhm.
compassionate, intelligent. You can ask
Yes,
questions. So, like, in a heartbeat, if I was in Atlanta, I'd
yes.
go to, and if you don't go to him, someone under his, he's just so casual with his, there's nothing, there's nothing that throws him. They didn't feed him the questions, and he has
I
such,
know. And I worked
yeah.
in marketing, so I can tell whenever it's not a thorough, I don't know, well positioned answer. But he's retiring though, and that is what's frustrating me.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
Hopefully though he's trained the people at the Shepherd Center to, go to work with people the way he does.
Yes, and
Hopefully.
I,
See,
yeah,
my,
I think
my
so.
the doctor I really love too retired. It's hard.
Yeah, it is. It's there's nobody that knows your situation better than that doctor. But so tell me, other Ocrevists got people, are you finding that you're having a gap with this medication?
What do you
I'm
mean
not
when you say gap?
I,
A
I'm not
crap
even
gap.
getting a gap anymore.
Oh, crap gap. Okay. I'm going to pause
Yeah.
for just a second and I'm going to have Christy introduce herself because she's also on Ocrevus and then we'll get back to your question. Okay. So Christy, welcome and yeah.
I'm Christy. I live in Colorado. Um, I am on Ocrevus. I am secondary progressive. Um, and I was diagnosed in March of 2003. So I'm coming up on 21 years. Um, and that's about it. It's just lately, just
Did you need time tonight, Christy?
massive depression with changes. Um, and I am being referred to multiple doctors. So I'm like, yay.
Mhm. Okay.
So yeah,
Did you need time tonight, Christy?
maybe just a little.
Okay. All right. So to re-ask Amy's question, people that are on Ocrevus, have you experienced the crap gap? I
Oh
have not.
yeah,
Christy, others. I know that Elizabeth it's been a while since she's been on here. She experienced it really bad.
Hmm.
So I
I've
used to get
only had
real,
one dose of it, so I'm about a month out from my or my first real dose.
Okay,
So I haven't
okay.
experienced it.
Gotcha. You're early,
I
so it's going to be
Right.
yeah,
working good for
and
you, hopefully. What about you,
I've
Chris?
been on Ocrevus since 2020. Yeah, June of 2020. And
Okay.
so I'm coming up on 4 years that I've been on it. And this last one right before my infusion, I just had an infusion on the 11th of this month. And literally from October to when I had my scheduled infusion, it was horrible.
Hmm.
And it's just like I'm already going through a lot of stuff, and um, I
So
never,
I've heard both Dr. Thrower and the other one from Ohio.
Foster.
Yeah,
Boss,
Foster.
yes, it's good.
um, Both of them have talked about crap gap as well, and there are some things that they can do, whether it's um, like a steroids to get you through that last month. But I mean, steroids kind of suck. But there, you might be able to talk to your doctor about some options.
I did. I did. I tried the steroids and it didn't do a thing for me. But steroids have
I
never worked for me either.
Yeah,
So,
I heard somebody talk about one dose of Kesimpta in that final month, or switching over to Kesimpta because it's a monthly injection, and so it doesn't have time to really wear off like that to get the crap gap.
yeah.
unless
yeah.
that's been available yet in your country.
What was
Well,
it? What's the other one?
Boy,
Tecfidera? Is that another monthly infusion?
Tecfidera
Tysabri.
is a twice daily pill.
No,
Um,
I'm thinking of Tysabri.
Yeah.
Tysabri.
Rituxan? Is that one?
No,
No.
it's a monthly. I just there were two gals in there when I had my infusion that they were on it. It starts with a T.
That's
Um,
Tysabri.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna go on that, but I was positive for the JC virus.
yeah, I'm positive for JC as well. That's another one that I can't
Me
do.
either. Right.
So, but you know, and also my neurologist is an hour away from me. So going once a month, my husband has to take a day off just to
Mhm.
drive me. That's
Mhm.
just not feasible.
Mine's
So,
3 hours away.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been on Ocrevus since 2017. I was in a study actually to receive it because it wasn't even approved for primary progressive MS. So I was super thrilled to be able to get onto this study. And I was working full time and had a very active and busy life. The clinic that I went through is in Vancouver, so that's a 4-hour drive from here. And so I would fly back and forth. I needed to be there every 3 months for the first year. Like it was crazy. Anyway, that was 2017. This is 2024, and I have gone on long-term disability. It's 2.5 years ago now, and I am progressing. My walking is disappearing. I stopped driving in August, and I used to really get a boost from Ocrevus. Like I would look forward to it. I could feel, and it was just that I felt well and energized, and that lasted for about 3.5 years. And in these last 2 years, the MS has just taken over. So, but the first 3 years were great.
Yeah.
I
Well,
would say
and
my situation is somewhat similar. I would say for probably my first 4 infusions, so for 2 years, I felt I mean, I didn't have much of a gap, and then when I maybe like a week or two maybe, where I'd start to feel more lethargic. But then after 2 years, that gap started increasing from 2 to 4 to 6 to 8 weeks, and I was like I thought I could deal with it, but then I got to that 8 week mark, and I'm like I can't do this again. I can't wait for my next infusion and have 10 weeks of not feeling well. I still have 3 kids living at home, and so I that's why I jumped to Briumvi, and I feel like Briumvi. I I can tell that it's working for one reason. I was losing hair, which I lost a lot of hair with Ocrevus. I have a lot of hair, so it doesn't matter too bad, but it's one
Yes.
of the ways I know that it's in my system. But I can tell that I am due for a my next infusion by the reason that my hair isn't falling out, but it's also I'm stumbling more and having more trouble walking. So I don't know. It's a gap. It's a gap drug for me right now. It seems to be working, but it's still new.
Mhm.
Did you say you're falling every day?
Yeah,
I thought I heard you say that. So do you use any mobility equipment?
I do. I do. If I have a long walk, if like say my son tonight was playing basketball at his school, I have a what I call power chair. One could call it a wheelchair, but I call it a power chair. It's called Fold and Go, and 66 pounds. It folds up. It goes in the back of my SUV. I have boys, so they unload it for me, and I'm able to get around like that. But
Awesome.
yeah, it's awesome, and it looks like the Jeep of wheelchairs. Is what I consider it. So I feel kind of better, like I look
Cool.
less disabled in a weird way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, but I fall, but I will say I have perfected falling because when I
I know
fall,
that
I
feeling.
let the motion flow through me in a weird way. I mean, it's just like when I go down, it's not a hard stop. It's a lay down and let it flow. So I do
Yeah.
have bruises. I got a nice big one on my leg right now. Most of the time it doesn't hurt, and you just get up and keep going because what are you going to do? Like, I'm not going to use a wheelchair or a rollator in my house. I live in a 2-story house. I wouldn't be able to move if I did that. So I take the risk, and so far I'm doing okay.
How about just
Ouch.
even a cane or something, Amy?
What's that?
How about even just a cane or something in your
A
house?
cane, if I used a cane, uh, it I think I would trip on it. And I
Yeah.
mean, I have used a cane. It was one of my first mobility, transitions. But I'm
The
better
problem
using my hands to catch
Well,
me.
the problem at home is that you have stuff to do and you have shit to carry, and what are you going to do with one hand? So it's useless. And I have to tell you, I'm sorry. I was like I got a new chair for Christmas, and I was against having a power chair in the house, but I am so thrilled because now I'm not falling anymore. I was falling like every second or third day. It was getting harder and harder to get up. Like, it was scary. It was scary for my husband. And anyway, now I can actually do shit. It's amazing. So, and that I had that feeling when I first started using a rollator too, like it's finally that things are so progressed that you are forced into compliance and acceptance. Well, that's what it is, compliance. Like, you have to comply because your body is not doing what you are telling it to do anymore. So you have to. And that's
Yeah.
just had to lead to more acceptance for me, like I'm a
Rem-
I'm a handicapped person. God, like I can't even believe that, you guys. It's
You
just
don't look it.
it doesn't matter,
Yeah,
right? None
I
of
know.
us
yeah,
look it.
I
Like,
know. That's what I say. That's what people say. Well, you don't look like you're handicapped. And
yeah,
I do. I feel like I'm constantly fighting against that. Like, I don't look it. But like today, I went to Chick-fil-A here in Georgia for lunch, and I'm trying to open the dang ketchup. Like, you have to peel it. And see, I've lost a lot of feeling in my hands. And I
mm,
mean, I'm like, I'm gonna do it. Damn it. I'm like, yeah, I finally got it. But, people just they don't understand those are problems that we have.
yeah.
They
yeah.
Can
don't
you put earrings on? Like, I can't hardly put earrings on anymore. It just drives me
know.
crazy.
See how I did this? This one doesn't have a backing on it.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm very, earrings. There is a big market out there if somebody would design earrings for handicapped people and just older people, because this is stuff that you lose as you get, older. My mom's 80
yeah.
and she can still do it better than me.
Yeah. Well, I went to Arizona for Thanksgiving this last year to visit my mom, and her husband rented me for the week that I was out there a power chair, like the fold and go.
Yeah.
Oh, that was just like the most amazing thing ever. Like, we went shopping and
Hmm.
I didn't have to worry about, keeping up with her because I don't know about you guys, but legs don't want to work as fast
Yeah, yeah,
as people who don't have any disability
Yeah.
with with anything in their body. And I would be like, Mom, I'll race you. She's like, not fair. And I'm like, well, this is the only time I can win.
Exactly.
That's so
Other than
awesome.
that, I'm 100% wheelchair dependent now, and it like they did so much just for me to come down there to visit. They put all hardwood floor with throughout because my mom knows that wheeling over carpet is next to impossible.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
so draining.
Yeah.
Um, and then they put a ramp on their up to their like porch so that I didn't have to deal with stairs. They put
Awesome.
a roll-in shower so that I could take showers while I'm down there.
Wow.
So they did a lot, and I was just like, I need to get me one of these chairs. And my stepdad, he's like, yeah, he's like, get it through insurance, and I'm like, no, because it's only once every 5 years that they approve stuff like this,
Yeah.
and they're not that expensive,
Do you
you
have a
know.
power wheelchair, Christy?
No, I have a manual.
So I just want to tell you that I know because I'm on that path, but it's true they only approve every 5 years. But maybe it's time for you to have a power wheelchair. They will approve it if your need increases.
Right, but um insurance, I've already spoken with them. Insurance want to do like kind of like what John has.
Which
far
is
as
what?
power wheelchairs.
What
And
does John have?
he's
Well, I
got,
think she's just that it's more tailored for what your needs are, right? Like you need an actual um, maybe modified in ways that are going to work for you. Like you might need a different backrest to support you. Like eventually, my core is not going to have strength. And I've talked about this with my OT. Like I'm going to need a wheelchair that tilts because I won't be able to reposition to take weight off my tailbone. And I'll need the support in the back for my body to stay centralized because I will lose that ability. Like I'm already starting to lose that strength. So it's going to be tailored to me, but that's what maybe your insurance wants to do is make it more specialized for what you need, which is a good thing. Like the fold and go is awesome because it gets you out. Like you get out and it's your independence. That's the other thing, that
right.
independence. But
And
for
I've looked up the fold and goes, like even on Amazon, and there's ones that you can get 25 miles. It's a dual battery. You can get 25 miles on the battery life, and they're only like $500. So, I mean, I would
where
rather do the fold and go because we don't have the car modifications to be able to transport a large wheelchair like um and those
Like,
are like 500-600 pounds.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. My chair weighs 528 pounds without me
Yeah,
in it.
right,
And it is specialized in a way to predict what may happen over the next 5 years.
right.
So I mean, I use my manual now, but I use my walker to get to my manual. And as most people in here know, I've named all of my mobility aids.
Right.
And that's just a
what are
fun part
the
of
names,
it
John?
too. What's that?
What are the names?
Oh, my canes were always Michael. So I could say Michael Caine, like one of the best actors of all time.
Uh, yeah.
Um, and then my upright walker's name is Edna. I don't have a name for my rental wheelchair, but I will have one for my new wheelchair that's coming any day now. Um, but
Exciting.
then my power chair's name is just the bitch.
My first rollator that I had was something just borrowed from someone, and I called it Johnny. And that was because it was actually like Johnny Walker. Like everyone still called
Yep,
them Walker. Got a Walker. I've got a
Walker.
Walker.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh,
So I,
my my first one I named Bruce, and then I got an upgraded rollator, and oh shit, I don't remember. But but she did have a name, Caitlin. Caitlin.
My walkers had a name. I had a piano named Edith. So at first I said Edna, and you said Edna. I was like, no, the piano is named Edith. But she left, so it's good. But my first walker, I was horrified in 2019. Amy, I was just horrified to go get a walker. And I
same.
went to the free recycle, so I didn't have to like pay. I gave him $10, but
Oh,
you
good
didn't.
for you. I like that.
And then that one was blue, and I called it Betty Blue. And then the next one I got was also that kind of blue because I need one for outside to get to my car. And that one was called Texas Blue Bonnet. And blue's not my favorite color. You wouldn't know from my glasses, but it's not my favorite color. But and then I had another one, and it was like a smoky blue, so I called that one Smoky. And I can't remember now if I named any more.
Good names.
So what that comes together to say is that we are all crazy. You'll be one of us soon, but we also have a lot of common traditions around here.
And we all realize that we have to accept our mobility needs. So we just
Yeah.
to the family because they're there to stay anyway.
Yeah, I have parts of my wheelchair kind of throughout the house, like my footrests, because I get exhausted pushing with my arms. So I don't have footrests because I use my feet and my arms. And also the footrest get in the way, run my feet into doorways, stuff like that. And my husband's like, why do you even have a wheelchair if all your parts are sprawled out throughout the house? And I'm like, because I can't walk,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Do you ever look at people and just how easily they walk and just how amazing it is and like how you didn't have to think about it? Like
Mm.
I know you guys, you have if you're still walking and I gotta be so thankful that I can still walk most of the time, but I have to think every foot lift, lift, lift,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
and it's
yeah,
not natural.
especially if you have foot drop.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, that is like the common cause of what was my falls, is
Yep.
because my right foot, I had foot drop. And I seriously, if I was not paying attention and like concentrating on my feet, I guaranteed would hit the ground.
Yeah.
I was I was the queen of falling here in Colorado. It was like I could fall and everybody's just like, one minute you were there, the next minute you weren't. I'm like, I'm sorry. I have no control over that.
Christy, do you still have that? I was very envious of your ankle foot orthotic.
Yes, I do.
Do you
I
use it?
unfortunately no, because I was recently diagnosed with lymphedema. So being in the wheelchair doesn't help either. And I'm always swollen and I can't get my foot in shoes. So I no longer wear shoes, I wear slippers because that's the
Christy,
only thing that my feet will fit in.
Christy, I feel you so hard there. I didn't wear shoes in 2023
Mhm.
at all, just socks.
Well,
But
I would have one shoe on one foot, but my
yeah,
right foot is turned out and it's swollen, and getting it in a shoe, it was just painful. So I never wore, in 2023, I didn't wear a shoe on my right foot.
yeah.
And so it
I
was like, it's
no, go
horrible.
ahead. Okay, yeah,
So
it
now
is.
I'm on, I got prescribed lymphedema pumps that I have to wear at least 3 times a day because I'm getting wounds on my legs from the swelling and stretching my skin.
Mm.
So it's like, can you cut me a fucking break? Can
Right.
can I just get one thing to go right,
Are those
and not end
helping,
up with
Christy?
new problems?
Yeah.
Are those
That's
pump
it.
things helping, Christy?
Huh?
Are those the lymphedema pumping things helping you?
Yeah, they're not completely like getting rid of my swelling, but they have shrunk my swelling. It's shrunk, but like my husband's just like, I forgot how like little your legs were.
There's a real leg under there. Yeah.
Yeah,
That must
and
feel
What is
better
even if
too, because when they're so tight, then it makes it hard to walk as well. Like even tight
Mhm.
leggings, like I can't wear anything tight. If I have the slightest resistance on me, my
Mhm.
body just will not cooperate. Like it's already so um heavy, like just
Yeah,
heavy.
Well,
I can
the
agree
Um.
with that for sure.
yeah, the
Uh.
nice thing about the pumps is that what it
what
does
does
is
the
it
pump
starts at
do?
your
What is it
foot,
called? What's a what?
lymphedema pump.
Uh huh.
And basically it covers my feet and goes all the way up to my hip, the pump. And what it does is that it starts pumping at the bottom and it moves everything upwards to get the fluid from the swelling out of your legs.
Did you get that
So
prescribed, or is it
it was prescription. I
yeah.
had to get it approved through insurance for them to even cover it. Otherwise, like for the pump machine, and because each like sleeve is $600, and then the machine itself is like close to 2 grand. So it was over $3,000
Oh, wow.
for the cost of the pump and the machine. I have to do it for 90 minutes, um, 3 to 4 times a day, just to maintain.
What?
Yeah,
That's like
it's
all day
it.
long, practically. Wow.
Yeah, and it's like I'm just like, and not only that, but because it's pumping all the fluid out of your legs, you have to pee like all the time. So I'm constantly having to pause it, transfer into my wheelchair, and go to the bathroom, which is exhausting in itself. It's simple task of going to the bathroom. And then I have to come back, put the sleeves back on, and that's not easy as either because then I have to force myself to stand up so I can pull the sleeves all the way up to my hips or like the bottom of my pelvis.
Okay, well, I'm going to say something very honest to all of you right now, that if I was facing that, Christy, I would be choosing to put on, I hate calling them diapers because that's just a baby to me, but I would be
It's
putting underwear and an extra pad, and I would be laying my ass down and just accepting. Like, I had to accept that when I had my surgery on my knee. And sometimes it just comes down to safety and reality. Like, if you're putting them on and off, I
well,
just feel for you. I feel for you so
no, I
badly.
know, and the thing is that I took it from way back. John will remember this. They're called ditties,
Yep.
and
Yep.
and that's one thing. And the thing I'm dealing with is I have no muscle control with my bladder, so
Yep.
that's my next doctors with the urologist to discuss.
My tibial nerve stimulation. I was going to do it during the meeting. I'm telling you, the tibial
Well,
nerve stimulation. It worked
Oh, I
there,
for
forgot
me. It
about
doesn't work for everyone, but
yeah, she was stating two things to speak with my neurologist about. I have it in my doctor's notes, but Botox from the bladder, and there was like a neuro something. Um, I just have to look at the notes from my doctor's appointment from yesterday.
Hey,
you know, my
Christy.
neurology nurse, I mean, all she does is support the MS doctor.
Hmm.
And she, I think when you start peeing on yourself, you just can't believe there's really something that'll help you, and you just don't want to try another thing that's not going to work because it's just so annoying. But the whole kit that I got, I paid $13, my 20%. It's just this little
Hmm.
kit, and I just hook up these little electrodes and I try it. It just does these little pulsations. So, and it's non-invasive. When I started with it, it was invasive, and I was surprised that the urology kind of suggested it, told me about it, but I was surprised that the neurology nurse, because I brag about it all the time, and she said, really, we don't really have people who do it. So I think it's just, and you're young too, like for me, they just said I'm a good candidate. Not everybody's a good candidate, but I run into the same thing. I mean, don't run, right? I hobble. I hobble in with the same with
So
the
is it
same.
working, Karen?
It works. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but
Okay.
I at night at night because my mobility's hard, so at night I usually for years, for like 25, 30 years, when I go to sleep, 2 hours later, exactly 2 hours later, I get up, I have to go to the bathroom. I mean, that's just, and I would marvel at that my body was so intelligent that it knew that it needed to do that. People go, but then it wakes you up. And it's like, no, no, then I go back to sleep. But lately, my sleep is wacky. So sometimes I'll sleep 3 or 4 hours and I do use a pad, not a brief yet. They're called briefs too. But, I'll do
Mm.
use a pad. And if I sleep more than 2 hours, I'll wake up and I think I can make it to the bathroom. And
Yeah. The fun of MS. Oh, man.
Hey, Christy, in the chat, I put a link to the shoes that I finally found that I'm
Okay.
wearing when I'm at PT. It's basically just the sole and then things that Velcro together around your foot.
Okay. Yeah,
Uh,
I'm supposed
yeah,
to start PT up again, and I'm like, and it's so defeating when you do
yeah,
PT and you feel the progress, like the little ounce of progress
yeah,
during your session, and then after your session, you have and you've used all your spoons
yeah.
for like you're in the negative for the next 2 months for that
Right.
one session, and you go once a week, you know.
Oh,
Are
Christy,
you
yeah,
seeing are you seeing a neurophysical therapist?
Yeah.
They
Oh wow,
shouldn't
they
wear
should.
you out that much.
Well, she
Yeah,
doesn't. It's just I get exhausted so easily lately. Like in the last, I would say, year, it doesn't take much for me to get exhausted, so what we discussed, because new year, uh new referral, my doctor sent that over, but what my therapist and I discussed was aquatic therapy,
Good.
so it's not so gravity, you know.
I've done aquatic therapy, and it worked wonders for me. Like it worked so
Awesome.
much wonder for me that I don't do aquatic therapy anymore.
Yeah.
You graduated?
Yeah, I graduated out of the pool.
But the
I
pool is
evolved.
so great. It's the only place. It's just been cold for me, and it's really hard for me to walk now. And if I park at the parking lot, it's I don't know how many meters it is or how many. Like to me, I grew up in Manhattan, but to me, it's like a block and a half, 2 block walk. They're a short block, but and yeah, it's really hard for me to do that, and I have to sometimes just make myself go. I never want to go anymore, and I make myself go, and some of the incentive is, well, I really need a shower. And it's just so much easier to shower there. So, and then I go, and it's also a social thing, and I just loved going, but I loved the movement, and now I make myself go. I mean, I think I've gone
Aaron, maybe you need
almost
a
once a
little
week.
lightweight scooter, like something that you
Yeah, but
can.
you have to get it in and out of your car.
I know, I
And a
know.
scooter is not appropriate for me because of my balance. I've kind of been through that. But yeah, it's not the same as wanting to go to the
I know.
pool than, feeling excited that I'm going to go to the pool. But I do have to say, anytime I go, and then it's also, I'm very cold sensitive, and sometimes just the water's warm. It's an outdoor pool. It's like 80 degrees, 81 degrees. But getting out sometimes it's just cold, and other people run into the dressing room. Well, I can't. I can't even get my flip flop on because I can't get my toe between the thing. But I never ever leave the pool and go, God, that sucked. Never. I'm always glad I went because the only
Christy,
place I can't fall.
yeah, that's another thing, Christy. You're floating in the water, but like, you know what? If you have that option, take it. Like if you can get that option. I mean, I was driving an hour one way just to get to my place,
Mhm.
because I think a lot of people may have heard of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Well, I'm like an hour north of that, so I'm a little speck on the map. But yeah,
Yeah.
Christy, if you have that availability, go ahead and do it. Because like I did, I graduated from the pool. Thank you, Carmen. And now I'm for a while I was at sea, and now I'm on land or at sea.
Yeah.
Hey,
And
John, are you
I'm
familiar with
actually
Pentwater?
Say it again.
Are you familiar with Pentwater,
Mm,
Michigan?
oh
I
yeah, absolutely.
Hey, you guys, I just realized like Mike had wanted to do a big update and we've been yattering on and it's already getting late. I just was feeling bad for Mike. And I've seen him kind of come into the screen and away. I don't mean to be intrusive, but I'm feeling a little bit bad for Mike.
Well, it looks like he was talking on the phone a while back, so
Ah, okay.
unless he
Hey,
sits down again, I'm assuming he's doing something.
just being aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
watch and catch him when he comes back.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
I
just
wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he was talking to Vicky. He told us right before um, we started that Vicky lost her brother, who's been disabled since birth,
Oh,
and the funeral was today. So he wasn't fit
uh,
enough to travel. But Vicky went back to Michigan somewhere. She's somewhere in Michigan. I don't know where. So
Who
when
is
he
Vicky?
comes back, Mike's wife.
Okay, I
Mike
thought.
Pettiford's wife.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. And then you went. Well, she's went back to Michigan. I thought, well, then
I
who is
didn't.
she?
She
I
went
get
back to Michigan because that's where they're from, Mike and Vicky originally. Uh,
You
yeah.
meant like back east. It's like when people say back east. I don't use that term. Back to
Well, isn't he
when I
living
think
in
someone's going
Arizona
back
now?
somewhere, they're returning to where they belong, but that's not what they mean.
Yeah,
I
and
think.
I feel bad because Rick and Mike, I was in Phoenix for Thanksgiving for a week, and I was like, I need to get a hold of them to see if we could connect and just meet in person. And I just got carried away with Thanksgiving, and I was meeting with other friends that live down in Phoenix, and I had family down in Tucson, so we were kind of all over Arizona during that week, and I was like, I've gotta have some kind of break, and being able to reach out to Rick and or Mike and say, hey, let's go have like a coffee or
Oh
go for lunch.
yeah. We would have come up. Mike and I would have driven up to Tucson to see you.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
Mike.
I was in Phoenix.
Oh, you were in Phoenix. I thought you said you didn't go down to see your family in Tucson.
Yeah, we went down there to visit with my cousin and her husband.
Okay. So we would have
Um,
come on. We would have driven up when you were in Tucson and had a cup of coffee with you.
oh man. And so, well, I'm
You'll
gonna
be
be
back.
going. I'll be going to Arizona often now that my mom lives down there. Well, as often
Oh,
as I can afford to, but
right.
it's like,
Got it. We would have loved
but
to have.
yeah, I know that next time I'm down there, I definitely let you guys know and say, hey, let's go grab a coffee. Let's go,
Yeah.
you know, jab for a little
Yeah.
bit. I
Yeah.
was
Mr.
like, I'm in
Pettiford
this
likes to
state.
get in his nice car and drive up and drive around. So he would have called me up and picked me up on his way because he has to go past my door and we would have come up and seen you.
Where are you guys at in Arizona? Sorry, I'm
We
still.
are in Tubac, which is about 40 minutes south of the center of Tucson.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So we're about two-thirds of the way between Tucson and the border, Nogales.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, and like I said, I have family in Tucson, so uh, my mom's in Phoenix, and we drove, I think it was like 2.5 hours, something
Yeah,
like that, down to
that's
Tucson.
right. Yeah, that's
And
right.
yeah,
That's
and if I would have known you guys were that close, I would have been like, Mom, I got to get a hold of them. And she would have been like,
yeah,
okay, fine. So
yeah,
it just was
yeah.
a busy week with Thanksgiving. So okay, now we can
Oh, wait
resume.
a minute.
Sorry.
I got to ask Miss Kim, what is this message? First of all, Amy, do you know how there's a chat window and people are communicating in the chat window?
Oh, actually, I don't. I have it on my phone. I don't have it up on my computer, so I don't see anything other than everybody's faces.
Oh, well, I don't know how you can get the chat window on the phone. I don't know how to do it, but somebody might. But then I sent you a message. but I had a
Okay.
feeling. And there's a message that says, "Can you bring a bathrobe, Karen?"
Yeah,
What
when
am I
she's at the
missing? What am I
like
You're not
missing?
missing anything. It's
just when she's
just,
at this
it's,
outdoor
it's,
swimming pool and she's cold.
everybody has suggestions for you.
Oh,
Everyone. Why don't
okay.
you, if you could only just, you know,
You missed
I'd be
mine.
bringing a
Okay.
super long bathrobe with me if I felt like I could carry if it was light enough.
if you felt like you
Okay.
could carry it. Exactly.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
if I had like a rollator or so, I would put it on and walk. Anyways,
So I just
I
want
hate
to say
people.
to Amy, if we don't have your email address, either you can send it to me or to Kim or to one of us, and we will make sure you get on the distribution for the reminder, because we send out a reminder before every meeting.
Okay.
So, or
At
you can also go to AnCan.org, and you can sign up on AnCan.org, sign yourself up for a reminder for the MS group and any other groups you're interested in.
Okay. I just like my volume has suddenly changed because everything, like even if I'm trying to like increase it, can I give you guys my email address and if you would email me
Yes,
and that way I can then respond to you?
you give
Your
us
volume just got louder.
if you don't mind, give us your email address and we will
I would give you hers, Rick, because this is recording goes on YouTube. I don't want her email address
Oh,
everywhere.
yeah.
Oh, it's
so what's
fine.
that? Oh, okay. So yes, let me give you mine
Uh,
because this gets recorded. M- My email is rd@ancan.org.
okay. All right.
R as in Rick and D as in Davis at ancan.org, and Kim is at kim@ancan.org.
Okay.
ANCAN.
Yes, .org. And if you send either one of us, we'll make sure you get onto the distribution. And then we send that reminder out usually a day before each meeting just to remind you. And it's also, we put other things in there. It's kind of like a cross between a reminder and a newsletter.
Awesome. Yes, I will do that. And I will also send some of the research that I have found on B12 and mitochondrial dysfunction. Some folks said they were somewhat interested, so I will shoot
Oh,
that
yeah.
over.
Yes, send
Thanks,
that to
Amy.
Kim because she'll distribute it to the right people. I personally am a big fan of B6, not B12, but B6 for neuropathy. And for me, it works really, really well. And just this last week, because of the colder weather, I don't like to say cold weather because people
Really.
make fun of me when I say cold weather. But when it gets a little colder, I have from my own treatment, from my own cancer treatment, I have some neuropathy. And just last week, I tried doubling my dose of B6 and it worked like a charm. I was so happy.
Wow, that's good.
Um,
I take
so, yeah,
B6. Does anybody else? I mean, it's routinely for me to have at least every 6 months, they check my B6 level. And my primary care provider, she thought it wasn't necessary to my primary care because I needed to do some blood tests. But yeah, they always check my B6 level and it go up
right.
and down. And so I don't know if I'm the only one
Oh,
on that.
with Mr. Pettipool, I'm going to unmute you. You needed some time, I understand. So we are, how do I, oh, send unmute request. You can unmute yourself right now because we could hear you. There you go.
Oop, you remuted. There you
Yeah,
go.
I wanted to share with the group my visit with Mayo last week. I had a psych test, uh, mental evaluation, whatever.
Neuropsych test. Difference between a psych test and a neuropsych test.
Neuropsych.
Yep.
And in the 3 years since my last one, I know I've declined. I know my short-term memory sucks. In fact, when Amy was talking about her canes, I jumped up and realized I think I left my walking stick at Costco today. So I'm discombobulated here. Most of my mental functions are intact. It's just the short-term stuff, not good. And I drove up to Costco and back and forgot my damn walking stick. That's pretty short term. And that's about all I have to talk about right now, Rick. But thanks for
Glad
listening.
glad that they still had it, like it was still there, Mike, and you were able to just get it quickly.
I have to get up super early and drive up there and talk to them. It's not there now.
You can probably call, but I imagine at Costco there's a lot of people that might enjoy that walking stick.
Yeah. It's a really nice one.
Mike, tell us more about the neuropsych. What findings did they have for you, and what else happened at the visit to Mayo?
Well, it was the same test I had 3 years ago, and a report I don't have in front of me, but the report was and I have a friend who's a psychologist, and he interpreted the report for me. And yeah, those numbers are lower, not not still within the range of expectations for age and so all of that. But my executive function is pretty bad. I have to leave notes to myself and stickers on things. And, that's just starting, so that'll get worse.
You know, in a way, and I'd love the group to comment on this, but the fact that you recognize it is half the battle, because then you can do things like leaving notes for yourself and doing whatever else you have to do to adjust. You know, I think the problem is,
If you remember where you put the note and how you saved it, Rick, it's not
Right.
until you have impaired executive function that you understand helpful hints are just like, but
It's also remembering to leave yourself a note.
and where you
I,
put
I
it and
miss
how you saved it.
Right.
Right.
I miss this group every once in a while because I forgot. Like at 5 o'clock, I forget, and at 6:30, I'm doing something else.
Yeah.
So I don't know how if that's all related to MS or partially.
Yes.
I set a lot of alarms on my clock.
Yeah.
On your watch, Frank? On your
On my watch, on my phone, I set alarms all over the place.
Uh,
Yeah, but I use a 24-hour clock wherever I can, but my phone will only give me AM and PM, and I can't tell you how many times my AM and PM doesn't work. And I'm like, why didn't my phone ring? And it's like, oh, it was PM.
My watch on my wrist,
It's 24 hours.
it says 2054 right now.
Yeah, a 24-hour clock makes so much sense. You don't have the AM PM nonsense.
I'm ex-Navy, come on.
you
But
have
with
to remember to
executive
actually set those alarms, and then you have to remember what you meant by this code word that you left yourself. Like sometimes I
See,
try to
Rick,
be
that's
really
right, Rick, you don't get
crafty.
it. Until it happens to you. You
Like
don't get it. I just made a bunch of notes, and I had a file in my note from my doctor, Dr. Marcus, and I hadn't talked to her at least in a year and a half. So I made some notes, and then we had our video appointment, and I couldn't find the notes because the title of the note no longer said Dr. Marcus, and I can't multitask, so I couldn't remember where they were. And I just, well, I had notes. I don't know where they are. I mean, there's just those kind of
Yep.
things. The executive function is, I want to say one thing
Lost
though
my
about
glasses yet again 3 days ago.
I
Still
know that
haven't
I
found
own glasses.
I just bought
Like,
an extra pair because I keep falling and I've scratched my glasses, and I decided since I'm getting new glasses, I should just have two pairs that really function. I don't have that like backup, because if I do fall, it's not like the next day or in 3 days or 3 weeks, I can go back and get them fixed. So
You know what, you
Andrea,
guys? I
my
was just sitting here
glasses because
listening.
they're prescription.
Mhm.
uh,
What did
Oh,
you
how
have
are
to
did
you
say,
having to
where
wear
Sherry?
your
would you look?
shades inside, Andrea?
They're prescription.
Yeah.
So that's
Oh,
all I have.
shoot.
We're
you're
like,
on your
well,
You
head,
guys,
Andrea.
we are all
what do you
so.
got, Sherry?
I wanted to ask Mike, did you have to do the clock test on your neuropsych testing?
What was your question, Sherry?
Did you have to do the clock test on your neuropsych testing?
What
The
kind of
clock
test are you
test.
Question.
saying?
The clock test, like, can you
Oh, yeah,
make
yeah,
an
yeah, yeah.
arrow for 10 after 11?
I
You
took
know,
that test on the day that the Queen died, and I was so shocked that I failed the clock test.
yeah. I think I didn't do well on either. And I watched these Roman numerals, so I
Oh,
wrote Roman numerals
oh,
rather than 1, 2, 3. And they said I didn't do timely or well or neat or whatever.
mm.
Um, I thought I was doing fine and zipping through those things. Um, but the one where they read you dog, cat, key, seat,
Mm.
chair. Uh,
I couldn't recognize a rhinoceros. I mean, I'm from Manhattan. We didn't have any. Maybe there was one, And I'm like, what the hell is that? And it wasn't a psych test. I was going for PT to
That's
find OT to like learn how to write with my left hand. And she's like, I'm going to say 5 words: vanilla, velvet, blue, and then
Velvet is always one of the words. It's
and
always.
then the clock, I didn't fail the clock test. I stopped the test after that because I didn't consent to a psych eval. Besides, I had a neuro, and she's like, can you put, the rhinoceros really pissed me off because I kept saying a fucking rhinoceros. I don't know what this prehistoric animal with a horn on its head looks like. What the hell is that? Trump had that test. He had a camel. I know what camels look like. I lived in the desert, but I was just so mad. But then with the clock, she's like, "Can you put 10 after 11?" And she goes, "Oh, good, you did that." I go, "We're done. We are done." I mean, I didn't consent to this. I'm getting neuropsych testing. Of course I could put. Of course I can do that. That was like 4 years ago. I was just pissed.
Let's make sure, because I know we spent a long time talking. Let's swing over to Carmen and see what she had to say tonight, if she's still here. Carmen, are you still here? You're on
Sorry, I
mute.
just had to rearrange something, so I had to shut her down. I've been talking, you guys. I don't know. I don't have anything specific. I had my Ocrevus 2 weeks ago. Psh, doesn't really feel like it did anything, like, to be honest. And um, I mean, I sound a little meh, whatever, but I'm just in this phase of, well, I'm handicapped and I have to just accept it. Like, I've got a stool in my bathroom so that I can like sit down while I'm brushing my teeth. I don't know who was talking about that like that dental presentation. I think it was you, Kim. And I thought, yeah, why can't I sit down and brush my teeth? And then I just started using it for getting out of my shower, because after my shower, I mean, I'm on the bench the whole time, but I have to like be very careful. Otherwise, I'm falling, and getting up is getting harder. So I haven't fallen since I got my chair, so I'm thrilled. My arm slash neck, whatever is going on. I actually just saw my kinesiologist today and he did some nerve testing, and my arm, like, I don't have any signs of pinched nerve. So that's good because the symptoms are terrible. But because I haven't been using my rollator, I'm not leaning on my arms anymore. And my arm and neck are much better. They're still affected, but anyway, he gave me 2 big shots in my arm because I've got tennis elbow, which is why my arm is hurting so much. But and then, yeah, like I don't look like I'm disabled, but I look great. Like I look like I'm doing just fine, but I'm not. And it just sucks. So it's just like all these inner conversations in my head of acceptance and like trying to put it into terms of what my brain and my heart will actually take. And it's just, I'm having a really hard time reconciling my pre-diagnosis my life with my reality right now. Just sucks. But there's nothing like I'm not bitter and cranky all day long. I'm just being real with you guys. Like it's just what it is. Like I can't change it. I've fought against it. I've done the best I can. But instead of being hard on myself about not doing enough, like I haven't stretched enough or I haven't like used my machine enough or I haven't done this enough, I'm just sick and tired of like being hard on myself. And I just have to just accept where I am. So I'm saying it
Well,
out loud so that I hear myself saying it too sometimes.
and you got witnesses now.
Yep.
Well, and honestly, Carmen, I'm in that same boat. It's easier said than done
Yep.
because it's very defeating. Like you feel like you've taken like 3 steps forward to progress.
Hmm.
Next thing you know, you've taken like 50 steps backwards.
Yeah.
So you're constantly doing the climb to feel something that
Mm.
you're not completely debilitated
Yeah.
and completely like as my husband likes to say every once in a while, he's like, quit being a lump on a log. And I'm like, I have no choice.
Not going to happen.
I'm like,
Yeah.
Look at the
it's
bright
just,
side. Look at the alternative.
I don't know of any other alternative at this point, to
Well,
be
you know, they
honest.
mean death, you know.
I know,
I'm not sure
and
that alternative is all that bad, quite frankly.
right,
Is all that what? What'd you say?
the alternative is not all that bad, quite frankly, you know.
Yeah. Some
Eh,
days that's what it feels like.
People don't want to hear that.
They might
No,
not want to hear it, but that's
But
how
we
I
do.
feel. That's how
well,
I
and
feel.
people don't want to hear it, but they are not experiencing what
They don't have
Right.
to hear
we
it. But if
deal
they
with.
go, look at the alternative,
Right.
but you look fine, you seem okay. It's like,
If I felt as great as I look, then I
and you look
probably
great.
wouldn't say that either.
You look great today. You do.
I,
You really do. You look all poofy and
Well, I
cheery.
just came from a massage. I got a 90-minute
Uh,
massage. So I'm like glowing with
Oh,
massage oil
yeah,
and
you
my
are.
hair
You
is
are.
like
oh,
slicked to my
Yeah,
head from massage oil and
yeah.
I feel better because of I mean
okay.
if I could get a 90-minute massage every single day, I
Mm-hmm.
might feel better than I do, but
Wouldn't we? Wouldn't we? Oh man.
But my doctor
Yeah,
said not to do it more than once a week. So at least you
I,
have
I,
six
I want to
days.
say, I want to say something about this because I'm sort of listening here, and I do really get it about maybe the alternative isn't so bad, and that's one of the reasons why at AnCan we're trying to put more of a focus on mental health and mental health support because there's yes, we can support you with the MS and we can talk about wheelchairs and we can talk about workarounds and everything else, but it beats up on your head. And we've got to support your head. And there are ways that we can do it. And Karen will tell you that
And Andrea as well.
that
Andrea
art
comes
class,
to
for
heart.
example,
Andrea
we
does as well.
that art class is a great pick me up because you finish that art class and you've painted all your sparklers and whatever they are, and you look and you say, wow, I just did that, and it makes you feel good. And then you say to yourself, oh, is this your painting from the last one? And then you say, you know what? It is worth being on the right side of the grass. And so that's what some of the things that we feel, oh wow, I love it. I love
I'm
Hey,
getting
it.
mine.
hey,
I'm
hey,
getting mine.
Rick.
Mm.
Wait, I'm
All
getting
right.
mine so you can see both of ours
So
together.
Sherry, do
yeah.
you have something to say?
I wanted to ask Rick about the drum circle because I went to an online one and I felt so good after I was done. It was so fun.
Okay. Listen, Sherry Love, can you tell us what we're doing right now? We're trying to figure out the technical stuff because of the latency. Was that a problem in your virtual drum circle or
We
not?
didn't. We muted when we drummed. We could just hear them do the rhythm and stuff. I was on
Uh-huh.
a djembe, an African djembe, and I could see, we went along with the rhythm, and then we unmuted at the end and did a real big rumble. It
Oh,
was fun.
well, we're trying to figure out this latency issue. As soon
Mm.
as we figured it out, we're going to move forward. But if you've got any information like that, either send it to me or send it to Dr. Period John, Dr. Dr. John, Dr. John at AnCan.org, because John's really working on trying to get it. But we'll have that. For those of you who don't know, I think everybody here does. Maybe Christy doesn't know, and Amy doesn't know. We're trying to put together a virtual drum circle, which is like another aspect of this mental health stuff. And it'll happen. It just may take us a little bit longer because there are technical challenges with sound that you don't have when you're doing art. And Amy, the art class is led by a wonderful young woman who is one of the moderators in this group, although she doesn't always come, who is a qualified art teacher. And she
Yep.
lives with MS, and I think she's 34 now. She's on
Very.
Ocrevus. She's had MS for a long time, maybe
She's
10 years or
amazing.
so.
No, she's had MS. We've been diagnosed. I think she was just a little before me, like 2018.
Yeah, she's really amazing, and
She's
she's
amazing.
compromised now. She doesn't have the dexterity in her hand, but Karen doesn't have dexterity, and you saw what
I don't
Karen
have
did.
dexterity in my hand, but I
Karen
never
did
made
this.
art in
Karen,
my life. Karen never
Karen,
made art in her life. It's not anything I ever wanted to do. It's not anything I ever thought I could do. I'm using my left hand that doesn't even have, you know, fine motor control, and I use my tablet, and
Hey,
it
Karen.
created new neural pathways. It's
Yeah,
amazing, but
Karen,
it's also
tell
so
them about
like.
your Christmas cards. Tell them how you were able to write your Christmas
Well, that,
cards.
yeah, I mean, other people know, but it's been so healing for me. And I've always had some creative practice, and I can't do that anymore. And it just is so healing. But beyond even that kind of thing, the isolation because of the debilitation, it's really profound. And so I have other outlets where I go, and I wasn't going to go today, but I went. I get invited to things at Westmoreland Senior Services, and there was a writing workshop, and people, shared. So it's for older people, it's for older people, and quite a few people talked about how isolated they feel. This one had cancer, this one had that, and it's writing your memoir, which I didn't even want to do 2 pages at a time, but it was such a wonderful group. And I'm going to cancel my appointment next Tuesday for my doctor because I don't want to miss the group. And just the sense of being seen, being heard, like you're right, Rick, it's like one thing to complain about your stuff, but to be seen, to be heard, to be in community and I also have a dance practice that I do online in Wales. But just to have those outlets, Rick, it's all of it, all of it. I mean, I know AnCan, but the AnCan and the art, and I am Hannah's. I don't know if I'm her. She's my alter ego or whatever. Because when I'm done, I do stuff that looks like, and I can't believe I can do that.
Me too.
And
I
Andrea and I
can't
are
draw
the
a
two,
stick figure, but
right?
I can make I Hannah makes art out of me. I don't know how she does it.
She takes us step by step, and I send mine to a friend of mine who's an artist, and I get feedback about it. I get feedback from her too, because she takes you through this process that it's like, well, how did you I wouldn't know how to get there. I don't do it if I'm not in her class. I don't even think about it. But then you
It's
have
her,
this.
it's her
Really cool.
superpower.
Anyway, I raise it because it pains me when I hear you saying, well, maybe we should, maybe we should be 6 feet under at this point in time. And yet I know that there are things that you can do that bring a lot of joy. And you think, wow, I'm so glad I'm here. And I just want you guys to hold on to that thought a little bit and to participate in those activities, not just our art class, whatever it is. Find those activities that are really giving you joy and do them as much as you can.
Do you talk? I'm
Please.
sure you talk about these in your other groups about
About what?
pursuing things that help
Yeah,
find you
mental
find
health.
joy.
Yeah. I mean, look, the whole mental health thing, I mean, we've really figured out that it's not just these disease centric groups that are important, but also the mental health aspect and how we can support people's mental health. And, I think I've mentioned to you, we hope it'll happen this first quarter. We're going to have a women's group of women talking together because we have a great men's group. The men love it. We don't have any. Well, Mike's been to it one time, but we don't have many MS men in there. But we'd love to have more MS men.
We don't have
And
many MS
and the
men,
and
period. I
the
mean, we have
and the
some.
group. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute, Karen. And the group um, is very successful. We've gone to 2 meetings a month. We're going to do the same thing for the women. And what I wanted to say to Carmen is, I'm still working on the Care Partners group. What we think we're going to do is to have a care partners for people that have neuro and motor challenges. So it won't just be MS, it'll include PD. I've got a couple of PD people. I've got Vicky has said that she'll lead. I still need a couple more moderators. So if any of you have or can find any care partners that would be
Uh,
willing to be part of the group, it would be great.
I know my husband is all for it. He was
Oh,
all for it
great.
when it was first brought up last year.
Oh,
He
that's
actually
great.
brought it up the other day and he's like, "Have you heard anything about it?" I said, "No, I need to email Rick, but I have the meeting coming up." And he always
But
pops
Christy,
in.
do you think he'd be willing to? I mean, we're trying to get like 4 or 5 together for the moderation team. And I think I
Yeah.
have 3 or 4. Would he be willing to be part of the moderation group?
Oh, definitely. He's all for it.
Okay.
And just so I just got to tell this because it's real quick. We've been doing craft fairs selling jellies, and he was at a craft fair the other day, and there was somebody there that was trying to pick up clientele for tattoos, and he got a tattoo on Sunday, and it's right on his forearm, like takes up a big chunk of his forearm and says MS sucks.
Wow.
Because he knows like what I've been going through.
Wow.
And like
Wow.
so
Wow. That's a big wow. Christy, you have my email address. Would you
yeah.
just send me your husband's name and his email address, and that might be just enough. I'll go and I'll look again. But I think if I've got two, I think right now I've got two MS, two Parkinson's, and I may have somebody from Duchenne. I may have a Duchenne muscular dystrophy care partner as well. And that would be enough for us to get going. And, hopefully we'll put the word out. We'll get as many people. It could take a while to get it going, but I really want to do more for the care partners. And I shouldn't say we really want to do more for the care
Yeah.
partners.
Yeah.
So,
And like I
Great,
said, he's
Rick.
been all for it since it was first brought up last year.
okay, no, we haven't forgotten it. So you send me the info. That's great. Oh, that's great. I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's,
And I'm sure that he would be more than happy to moderate and, to hear what other people are going through and help them
oh,
get it
that's
out.
great.
So,
And
yeah.
and Miss Kim, look, Louis just arrived.
I
Yeah.
know. Hey, Louie.
Louis,
Hello.
hello.
Hi. Hi,
So why
guys. Oh, I'm good.
are you?
Just,
We can't. You just missed us talking about your friend Hannah. We were just
oh,
saying some very nice things about your friend Hannah.
nice, nice. The San Antonians. Nice. So what's she up to? Doing some cool art stuff?
No, we were telling Amy, who's new, about the art class,
Oh, nice. Nice, nice.
and look at Andrea's see Andrea's sparkle
Nice.
stuff, twinklers,
I think Karen's trying
sparklers,
to get hers
fireworks.
out too
No,
again.
I'm taking other notes because I can't
Oh,
remember things. Talk about executive function.
uh, right. Sorry, Rick. I didn't mean to interrupt.
But
No,
I
it's
didn't.
fine.
Yours speaks volumes.
Yes, yes, yeah. I'm so proud of you guys when I see this. And Amy, you can go on to our website and you can see there's an art gallery. I think it's under resources and it says
Yeah,
art
but the
gallery.
art gallery doesn't have new things. I think on Instagram, and I'm not really on Instagram, but I think there's a link with AnCan to Instagram, and there's more of the art stuff there.
Okay, well,
I'm not on it, but
whatever.
I'm allowed to see the pictures
I see.
because
Well,
that's
I'll talk to Miss Alexa about getting us bringing the art gallery up to date. Or you
it's
guys in the
way
art
behind.
class, when you're in the art class, you say, "Come on, the
No,
gallery's not up
they
to
said
date."
I think between Hannah and Alexa, it's just too taxing on them, and they're young, and that's good. We need to get with it. That they like social media, and I just think the link, maybe the one thing to get on there is this was an art gallery, but we have an updated gallery if you go to the Instagram link. I think that's just more because I
Okay,
didn't understand what Hannah said. We have social
okay,
media. It's like, well, I don't know about that.
okay.
Well, if you don't mind, I just snapped my husband over here and he's going to show
Oh
you
yes.
his arm really quick.
Oh,
Okay.
awesome.
Just his
So
arm. We don't get to meet him. We haven't seen him yet.
he's 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 uh he's a figment of my imagination.
Keep
All
talking.
Wow.
right.
Oh, that's
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah,
Good
so
job. Great
True
job.
that.
I put it over
What's
there.
his name, Christy?
Steve.
Steve.
Steve. Thanks, Steve. That's
I think
awesome.
the only person who has actually seen him and like what he looks like is Miss Kim. That's just because she was in
Not only
Colorado.
have I seen him, but I've eaten his food, which is very good.
Yeah, I'm lucky on that aspect that he did culinary in the Navy and then he expanded to like steakhouses and he worked at Morton's and some other place in California. That he's a great chef. So I'm pretty lucky.
Poor you.
Here's
I
another.
know. For me.
Christy. I have another question for you. Um,
Mhm.
does Steve get care from the VA?
No,
Okay.
no. He's done private
Okay.
insurance
Because
just because it's
if you do know anybody, any of you, if you know any vets, we've got a fantastic veterans group. It meets it'll meet on Thursday. It'll meet this Thursday. It meets the last Thursday of every month, and we help people navigate their benefits and their health care. So just refer them to AnCan and have them come into that group. And it's gender agnostic, it's disease agnostic. It's about helping people figure out how to get their health care and their benefits.
Okay.
So,
Really don't know very many people. Just one person. That's my neighbor. I can bring it up to him and see if he'd be interested.
if he
You
needs
know.
it, absolutely. If he
Yeah.
needs it. I mean, I was at I stopped by my mechanic 2 days ago, and there was an old guy there with a combat veteran Vietnam on, and he was sitting in the waiting room, and I said, "How's things at the VA?" "Oh, awful. They lost my records. 8 years of my records." I said, "Will you come into our group and we'll figure out how to solve that for you?" So
Okay.
hopefully he'll show up. But that's the sort of thing that they'll do. And it's all peers. It's all peers, from Dr. John, who spent his whole career as a doc in the VA system, to somebody who was a social worker in the system, um, and somebody who's just knows the system real well. So it's all. Guys,
Okay.
I'm going to leave you because I've got to do some packing and some stuff for tomorrow. But I hope to see you. When is it? 2 weeks in
No,
February.
it's 3 weeks because
Three
there's 5
weeks.
Fridays in January, so it's February 13th.
It's February 13th. But I'll see you. I'll see you then. And I hope everybody stays well and as healthy
And
as they
don't
can and
and don't
warm.
leave and don't leave your heart in San Francisco.
Well,
I should be so lucky. I should be so lucky. Okay, goodbye.
well, safe travels. It's good seeing you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Karen, did you still like to share tonight?
Well, it's kind of on the end, and it's a little too bad because I had a lot to ask about input and give some things. And of course, that's why I started writing notes because I wasn't going to remember. I don't know. I got a new symptom. Isn't that fun? Besides not being able to walk, but I had like I'm getting pitting edema in my right foot.
Great.
Yeah, right? Yeah, great. Exactly. Well, just keep your foot elevated above your head. So easy to do when the foot's kind of paralyzed and your right hand doesn't work. Just
WTF? Is that what someone really said to you? Good God. I think you need
no, I don't
Tissy's
know.
machine.
Actually, I haven't reported it to anybody because I had the neuro visit on Thursday and then it was Friday. But I remember my doctor was saying, to do that. So yeah. So anyway, that's a new lovely symptom. Um, I have a lot of sleep disturbance. I'm like up all night. If I go to bed, I go to sleep, but I just I get on the couch, and then I fall asleep, and then I wake up and I just go to
Mm-hmm.
bed, and then
Mm-hmm.
I don't. And I just sit and I move. And I feel really crazy about it. And I was at a barbecue, picking up barbecue like 2 months ago. And this guy I opened the door on this guy and he was in the bathroom. And he's like, so then he was embarrassed. Well, then I said, can you just make sure I'm safe getting out to my car? Because Oakland is just really dangerous. So he wound up carrying my chair out to my walker. He put it in the car and he asked something. And I said, look, I have MS. I know it doesn't mean anything to you. And he said, no. He said, my ex, because he was there with his current wife or girlfriend. And he said, no, my ex-wife, she has MS. And my son, I mean, who would think, this random thing? And he goes, and my son, my daughter went to visit her. And I found out she was just sitting in the same position for 6 hours. And so now she's in some place and, I found a good place when he was trying to tell me where it is. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that. I own my home. I have to do that. But it was just, I feel, you feel validated when somebody confirms what you're doing. Like, what's wrong with me? It's not a factor of sleep hygiene. It's just something else. So I just went, you were talking about pain, Carmen. So I said, I'll go take a Motrin and then Miss Kim, the pharmacist. I thought I'd go take some Motrin. And instead of taking Motrin, I took my 1130 meds because I went in the kitchen to take meds. So it's my Ampura. I mean, it's like not going to kill me, and my calcium, but still, you're supposed to take it every 12 hours. It's more those noticing those things. Like, I don't know if Mike's listening, but it's noticing the more you do those kind of things, the more you're at risk for accidents, for just paying more attention to those things because they're, what was it? Because I couldn't sleep. So Wednesday, I had 3 appointments at Kaiser, and it's like just random buildings. And I had 2 paratransit rides. So that was a lot. And I decided I would take paratransit and act like a disabled person instead of dealing with the parking lot and it's just like, it's just,
Act
and,
like.
and I'm horrified about paratransit. It's like, well, is that what I'm going to have to do now? Anyway, I had such a great time on paratransit, especially coming back. The guy was just a hoot. And it turns out my friend knew him. She goes, really, Eric? He lives down here. So I used to be very social. And anytime I go out, I run into people I know. I went to Recare's to get a transfer bench for the shower. Because a couple of weeks ago, I think I told you, but I don't know, I couldn't get my right leg out of the shower. I couldn't get my leg up. Because I couldn't hold on and lift my leg at the same time. And I remember you talked about leg lifting, Carmen. So I remember reading, but I finally found the gait belt. Someone said, well, you can use a gait belt to put your leg in and use it as a leg lifter. So it's sort of more and more this identity of being a disabled person. Ms. S with MS probably doesn't want to hear it, but
I'm listening.
no, I'm saying you probably don't want to hear it because it's depressing. You're like, no, I'm not. I'm going to still do, I'm going to still maintain. And you were saying what's going on, because I counted 5 or 6 heads on this call that in the last few months, I'm going to say the last 5 or 6 months, it's been. So what is going on? And I know that was happening during COVID, but there wasn't an explanation for it. But
Well, we have a progressive disease, Karen. That's the problem.
I know, but that's just too many people. I mean, so I got that, the sleep disturbance. I'm up all night. I sleep a lot. Just took my meds. My wheelchair business. I'm getting a power wheelchair, but
You should.
the payment only went through today. The MS Navigator. I just, with executive function, I can only handle like 2 small projects at a time. And if they don't get resolved, I'm like this. Ironically, with the lift, my wheelchair lift took 5 months, and it was like no sooner was it fixed, I had to worry about paying my 20% up front for a $23,000 wheelchair. And they don't guarantee anything. And so I'm just, who pays $5,000 up front that you might take 2 or 3 months? You might, and it might be longer than that. And the wheelchair guy who came to my house that did the fitting, he got really sick. And it's a good thing I was a nurse, because I do understand. He called me and I was like, left a message, and I said, who's that old lady? Who's calling me about a wheelchair? So he was really, really sick. So it was like 21st, they asked for the money. And I said, look, I need to talk to this guy, but I needed to put my question. I needed time to think about, what are my questions? What do I want to know? And in the meantime, I can't move to the next whatever. And then I had to wait 2 weeks for him to come back. And I had a lot of anxiety also about the social worker. And I have found that I'm asking for advocacy. The more I get advocacy, the more I'm not just fighting my own battles, the more I feel protected, the more I feel I can cope. And I even had my therapist from Kaiser, and I know, well, Rick's not here because Rick doesn't like Kaiser, but I feel like my care is more integrated. Everybody can talk to one another and check in. And I'm so grateful for my neurologist. Even though I haven't talked to her in a year and a half, she has an amazing nurse. And so we had our visit, and she said, Karen, which I couldn't find my notes for because it didn't say Dr. Marcus, it said whatever was the last thing on my mind. And that's how
Your
my note
secret
program
code word that
thinks.
you thought you'd never forget.
Well, it's just while I'm talking to her and having a New Jersey breakfast, and I couldn't like, yeah, it turned out I covered most of everything. And then even if I can't cover it, that the way her system, so I found out, which is pretty amazing, she's now got hiring 4 new MS doctors. She was hooked up with UCSF. I mean, that's why Rick's like UCSF. And it's like, she went to her residency there. That's why hopefully with Ben Thrower, hopefully he can indoctrinate everybody else. Because when I met her 5 years ago, she's her colleague who she agrees with was leaving, and so I told her, and then I said, well, there's this guy in San Jose. She goes, you wouldn't be happy with him. I mean, she didn't even know me, and she said that. And I said, and then they want me to go 90 miles to Sacramento. So some guy who just got out of a residency, besides his first line in his bio is, I used to be the class clown. And I'm like, and you still are. I mean, it's like, that is just not what I want to hear. And she goes, he read that, he did that. I just met her. I never met her. She goes, I'm going to have to go check on that. So I do feel very protected. And I was angry with her after like a few months when I met her, but she's clinically was always on it. But I just feel so grateful because she's really very thorough. So I did write down about what Amy shared about methyl and the B12. I write all this stuff down, but I also want to know if anyone else has questions. So we had she was a little late, and I said, that was okay. I had time for my New Jersey breakfast, a bagel with smoked trout. So she hasn't seen me in 5 years because it was like COVID and then this time. And she said, I hate to make you come to San Francisco, because she said, but I haven't done a hands-on neurological exam, and I doubt anybody else would be able to do that. And so I'm willing to go see her. I just felt like the visit went so well. It just went so well. And she has a PA now, so her staff is growing, and they already booked an appointment next week with the PA. So it's like, everything doesn't have to come out of me and the neurologist. She can read the chart. They communicate. It's not perfunctory. She said, first, let me just catch up on what I know. And then even she's trying to advocate, well, why can't you have that other social worker? Why can't you have the San Francisco one? I just feel validated. I feel cared for. I feel validated. And I said, no, I can probably go to San Francisco on paratransit. And I have a friend who lives there, and she called me today. She goes, well, I'll meet you. And I said, I was thinking too, maybe I can go spend the night. And, she said, oh, I'll do that and take you and do that. So, because I do feel like it's not going to change what she suggests for me, but these younger neurologists, especially, were the ones who really go beyond just the book. And her mother has MS. So she wakes up every day and reads the MS Bart's blog from England. Like, she lives and breathes this. This is, and I think now she'll probably have less patience because she's going to have 4 new people on board, which is amazing. So that just makes me feel really good. And I forgot other suggestions that she had. I can't remember. And I said, well, my doctor does hands-on osteopath. So I said, well, you should reach out to her. I mean, because I don't know if she could do a neuro exam, but you should reach out to her. I mean, even if she can't, I know my doctor would appreciate that I'm not just with this doctor. I'm not just with that doctor. I'm not just with whatever. And I did mention to her Kim's favorite topic, the pelvic floor therapist. And I said, the things I have to deal with, it's like, the urologist, it really works, the treatment. And then she found out that I have fecal urgency. And so she said, so the urologist, it's their urologist. She said, well, I can make an appointment for you with the pelvic floor therapist, and she can hook you up with like biofeedback and put electrodes in your anus. She cracked up. I mean, it's like, really? Like, really? like, just what I need, I mean, she laughed before I was even done because she got it, like, okay, let's just parcel out your big toe, and now let's put electrodes in your anus. Well, she didn't even want to do that. It's like, because she stood right away with the sphincter. It's like, if your foot's not working right, your hand's not working right, and your brain's not working right, your sphincter's not working right. But that just made me feel so good to see her laugh because I
No
wasn't trying
kidding.
to be funny. It was just, and none of you, when I said it, you were all very politely attentive. Okay, a sphincter in your anus. Like, only thing missing in my life.
Oh God, Karen. Karen, I'm really glad to hear that you have such a good feeling about your care team right now. Because like after listening to what you went through with the lift and just how challenging some things are
Everything
and
is.
understanding that, like I'm relieved and happy for you.
And well, and it's also the care team because the OT came to my house and she's like, so I'm still like the social worker. It's just nice to have three validations. So my therapist interviewed her and called me twice before our session to say what happened. I said, so she's useless, right? She was really like, she was just useless. And it's not just me going, look, it's not just me that she messed up and she called me inappropriate. And it's like, no, there is nothing inappropriate about anybody in this room to feel anxious, to feel angry, to feel frustrated, to feel like I don't want to deal with this right now. Whatever we feel, it is not inappropriate. It is totally appropriate. I don't want to get a wheelchair. No, I don't want to have this. I don't, whatever it is, even if you need it. Like I need to find a caregiver, but no, I don't want to do it right now. Whatever, there's nothing inappropriate about your feelings. So I feel because the OT really helped me. So I was having a problem with this payment thing. And then this guy, Todd, was sick. So when he finally called me 2 weeks later and he made an appointment, he spent an hour and a half going over everything with me. And so I do feel like, okay, I'm not just going to wait for 3 months, tie up my money and do all this. But the MS navigator, Frank's favorite people, I had to hold her hand. It's like I have to hold everybody's hand. She's the navigator. She's the navigator. And she kept insisting I need an RX. So I reached out to the nurse and I said, and I said, we don't know what they want. She won't say what it is. Like I didn't have to say to the nurse, it's cuckoo, you need an RX. What exactly do you want? And so I said, well, why don't you just write a letter like we did for the lift? Karen has MS and for her safety, whatever she needs to have, I said, put in power wheelchair. And that worked. But it didn't work enough for the navigator. She wrote to me, and it's like, I can't handle this ping pong. This one's calling, that one's calling, this. Let me do a text. Let me make an appointment for this. Let me call that. Let me check that. It's like she's an MS navigator. Why doesn't she know this? I mean, my nurse knows. She doesn't pester me. She probably violated HIPAA. But it's like, okay, is Karen going to complain about it? Let's just make this easy. What can we do to help you to make things easier? So the MS navigator, she sends me an email because she won't call, and it's like with a text mentality, everybody's like just gonna ping you with one sentence. I got an email from someone named this from Kaiser. Well, I already left you a message, and I'm afraid to open it. I get a lot of spam. Should I open it? I'm like, yes, it's the nurse I told you about. Then she pings back later. Okay, she's I'll read it tomorrow. I don't care. Then the next day I get a private email, like a secure private email from the nurse. And I want to go to my dance class. I don't want to spend my whole life dealing with people's technological problems. So I decided just not to read it. And then she's like, oh, I can't figure out how to open this. And it's like, well, why are you asking me? You're the navigator. I just I go ballistic, and with this so much stuff just like that. She's just, and then she's like, okay, you know, oh, okay, can't she just fax it? And it's like, you don't you know about HIPAA? She can't just fax it. So the nurse, sent a secure message with a CC to me, and I decided I don't need to know what's in that message. It is not my job to help the navigator navigate. So then she wrote, okay, I got the RX, and we can authorize 1,500. But I also, when we first talked, I said, well, is there any other source that can help pay for it? Oh, and then she said, I just want to check with you. I just want to clarify, you have the invoice that your part is $4,534.79. And it's like, I want a break. I want to not have to hold every hand for every step. So I didn't respond. And a few days, so the whole weekend went by. It was Martin Luther King weekend. She goes, can you please clarify below? And I was like, yes. And it's like, because then I have to go somewhere to see, was it $4,534.87? And I just like, it's just making me nuts with all that. So everything kind of calmed down. I had 3 appointments at Kaiser. I had an eye exam. And then the eye exam was 40 minutes late. And then I had to go get an optometry, and that was late, but I found somebody else. And then I had a mammogram scheduled, but I was late for that. And they did that. And then I had the paratransit. And finally Todd called me and we settled this. And I just feel like, oh, when you have MS, you cannot juggle that much cockamamie crapola and have to handhold everybody every step of the way. So the person that takes the money, because after Todd did his thing, the money person called me, and I need to figure out how much money do I have and where is it coming from? Because why do I have to pay up front 2-3 months ahead for it? That's a lot of money. I mean, a deposit doesn't work. You already know I'm going to get. And so yesterday I put some on my credit card, and then I realized I didn't have enough money in my checking account. I had in my savings. I had to move it. Well, my e-check didn't work. And so there is so much of my time and energy helping people figure out their technology problems. And I've got MS. And so it just, but I noticed every time I pulled something out of the way. And so Wednesday, I had that big day. I've not left my house since Wednesday, but I've been purging because I have to get ready for the wheelchair. I've been purging stuff. I just threw out a ton of garbage, a ton of paper. I'm purging stuff. I updated my Excel spreadsheet. I'm ready to put my tax thing in. Then I had to apply for something with the water company, and they say you got to fax it. And I'm learning now, you don't have to do everything everybody says. So I actually prepped the email because I was in the zone. So I put all my tax stuff in there and everything they wanted for the form. And I called someone, and I have the supervisor's number. And I said, look, I'm disabled. I don't have a fax machine. I don't have a printer. I want to do this electronically. And I got the customer service. I didn't even have to go to the supervisor. It's like when I'm calm, I'm not reactive to all the crap. I was able to say, is this something I can do? Because Mrs. Khan helps. Well, she still works there. He said, no, all you have to do is send us an email. Okay, but I can't write, and I just said, push the button, and I sent it off. And then before I did something else today, I said, okay, I'm going to call the money lady. She doesn't call back to me, and I'm busy. I just can't handle this. So I said, okay, listen, why don't you try my ATM card? If the e-check didn't work, I called the bank. I spent 3 hours on this. Here's my ATM card, and I will email you my 3-digit code. So I just feel like, wow, when you clear all this stuff out, it's like, oh, I can problem solve. And I don't have to do it all by myself. I can have other people, but it's the navigator. Well, then she said, okay, we can do this. So then I had to write to her again. And I said, well, I thought you said once you got the RX, you would be able to research other possible payment sources. And then she said, well, you can go directly. I said, does that, because she was going to go to the source that just paid for my lift, and they might not do that. So each time I have to go, Karen, don't be a bitch. Don't be a fucking angry New Yorker. It's hard not to be that person. And so I have to calm myself down and go, can you approach this with a loving heart, with a big thing? And can you?
That's an amazing attitude, Karen. I find that I have to do that too. The person that's working with you on the phone is not the point, is not the problem.
Yeah.
They're just the middle person. And oftentimes I just want to like scream because I deal with not the same situation you're talking about, but I deal with insurance and the fact that my insurance thinks that I have Medicare Part B, and they keep on trying to not pay bills, saying that Medicare Part B is going to pay for it. This has happened for years, and it creates a nightmare. And I have to tell everybody exactly what to do. No, you need to call this person, and then the only problem is that you have no way of knowing if everybody else is doing their job unless you
And
call and check in and say, did you send
they're
that fax? Did you get
and they're
that email? And it's just
not
crazy.
and they're not doing their job because the systems don't talk. It's like the billing department. I signed up because I can get $300 towards my glasses if I paid $21 for the Senior Advantage Plus. So my plan was January, get your glasses. But on December 20th, the optometrist had to cancel my appointment. So whatever. So I had to reschedule all that. So I get my glasses, and on the phone, while I was on the phone, I said I want to make the payment. So then I get my statements, and it's like I didn't. Why didn't the payment go through? You know, like this. Everything is dysfunctional, and the
It is.
neurology nurse, she's great. So I said to her, which Rick was talking about mental health, I said to the neurology nurse, she said, so do you want me to look for another social worker for you? I said, I want to see what happens with my therapist. I said, but she needs therapy. And the nurse said, Karen, everybody needs therapy.
I would probably agree with that too.
Because
Well, guys, I'm here in Georgia. It's already almost 11 o'clock, so I got to sign out, but I hope to see you guys again.
we
Thanks,
hope to
Amy,
Nice
see
for
to
you.
meet
joining us
you.
tonight.
But yeah, anyway, I didn't, because now it's going to be 3 weeks, and I wanted to make sure at least I got some of this out and tie into what we talked about, because it's so hard to remember. But so now the neurologist PA is going to, they just scheduled a video appointment with her next week. So if anybody has any questions about anything about MS that you're wondering about, I can add that to the list. Just thought I'd put that out there. Half the people are gone, but I took notes about what she was talking about.
Yeah, I need
Yeah.
to look into that vitamin B business. I don't know. I feel like I'm just so busy. Like I'm going to massage and I'm going to chiro and I'm I don't know. I just am not taking enough time to even rest or do research. Like you guys are way ahead of me on readings and stuff.
No, I don't do it. I'm not up on that. I count on other people. But since it had been a year and a half since I actually saw the neurologist, and she's really great, because she said, I said, no, but I think my doctor would appreciate you putting your hands on doing the neuro test. And she said, well, I'd be okay if maybe you went to the physiatrist, the rehab doctor. It's more she doesn't want to drag me into San Francisco knowing full well she's probably, but I feel like, no, you should, for your own personal, I didn't say it to her, but in my mind, I said, well, I can get to San Francisco. So I'll be able to talk to the PA and say, no, I want her to see me. It's been 5 years because of COVID. And then she said, and then, the MRI, let's just order it for once every 3 years, because it's not changing anything. I mean, she knows I didn't do the 20-foot timed walk because I can't. And but I just feel such clarity, like, no, I do want to have the neurologist look at me. No, I do want, and then she was suggesting baclofen, and because I'm getting some cramps, but it's just makes if it's not just one person handling, because I also was looking into palliative care. The social worker told me that what they do at Kaiser with palliative care is different what they do other places. Well, how is that useful to me? I mean, I don't know what they do. She goes, well, you talk to your doctor. And my doctor has no time, my primary care doctor. So then I brought it up to the nurse. And the nurse said, well, I don't really know. I guess when you talk to Dr. Marcus, she'll know about palliative care. And then Dr. Marcus said, well, the only people I've ever sent to palliative care. So, that's enough to make you go out of your freaking mind. But because I have this team, I feel like no one's going to drop the ball on this. They're going to help me sort through the social work thing. They're going to help me sort through. And also the neurologist said, well, I mean, I try to have Sarah, the nurse, be that. I said she does about 80% what the social worker does. So that's giving me that. And the OT's been great, because I was constantly calling her saying, look, these people, they're not getting back to me. I need to talk to someone, and she called a few times. So the squeaky wheel, it's worth being a bit of a squeaky wheel to get some answers.
So what's the timeline for your wheelchair to come, Karen?
Well, Yelp says they suck. The OT said, well, unfortunately it is hit and miss. And she said, but Todd's really good. And after talking to Todd for as long as I did, and he said, no, we're here for you. And so at least it wasn't unreasonable to go, okay, you came to my house. I didn't even know you were coming. You showed up with a wheelchair. I don't want a wheelchair. By the time he left, I'm like, this chair feels really good. I want to get this chair.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And And I also asked about like wheels on it, because should I get the 14-inch wheels or the 12-inch wheels? And so then I said, I suppose the worst thing that could happen is the 14s are too big and I could just pony up the money. He goes, no, you don't even have to pony up the money. What'll happen is we put in a modification. So anything about you, because I was anxious, like you get once in 5 years, you get a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't, if you have other needs, and the way they wrote it up, the way the OT wrote it up, because they don't look for future needs, but the OT wrote it up. No, you need this now. You need to have your legs elevated. You need to do this and that. And then he said, no, if the 14, he said, you know what? I actually spec'd your thing for 14-inch. I didn't realize that, but we already tried them in your house. And it's hilly where I live. So he's like, you'll definitely do better with 14-inch. It's just the 12-inch is very narrow. And also he was here, so I talked about the room setup, the plugs. Like I have an old house, so I have knob and tube electricity in my bedroom. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, wait a minute. There's just so much involved with this whole process.
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel like I'm moving along, but I was like really anxious for like,
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of money and it's a big step, right? Like it's
yeah,
progress. Like
about
it's
that,
just something that
about
you.
needing to get help in the home. And yeah, and I ran into, when I went to get my transfer chair, I ran into someone, and her partner just died the week before, and she couldn't they wouldn't take his commode. So then I wrote to her and I said, hey, I'd be happy to have Colin's commode. So it's like I don't go out anymore. I'm isolated. Whenever I do, I run into someone and I have a connection. And so she called me yesterday to talk about when the commode is going to come, because it is getting hard for me to get up. And I'm like, well, maybe I should put that commode in my bedroom so I can do that. And then so yesterday I said, did you? I said, you did clean? She goes, it's really clean. It was hardly used. And then I said, well, did you put bleach on it? And I know she's pretty eco-conscious. She goes, Karen, I ate my scrambled eggs out of it today. It's clean. And then she wanted to take back those pink spongy things back to the week. She says, well, on Friday. I go, really? With everything you have to do, you're going to take those stupid spongy things back? She goes, well, it's something. So then I wrote to her, after we talked, and I said, hey, by the way, those things are called Toothettes. And she said, oh my God. She said, my next band is going to be called the Toothettes. So when you can find like humor with this, and feeling connection. So, I've been home for days, and today I thought I would get out, but to just dump so much stuff and start to, move the cabinet that's in the hallway to get to my bedroom and move it in, that I feel like I'm making progress.
Have you got some help to do these things physically in the house, Karen?
No, no. I mean, my neighbor helps me with stuff. And then I told my friend, because they both play fiddle. I said, well, Catherine. And I said, well, Catherine, she said, do you have help? And I go, no, everybody asks me, do you have help? And it's like, but do you offer? And so my friend lives in San Francisco and came over here a few times. She goes, Karen, she's really great. Just ask her. And I went, oh, you're right. Because she said, oh, I'm going to be in your neighborhood. And I was like, if you would give me 15 minutes, I can have you do something for me. And I realized, okay, I have to do that, because I get really kind of shy about asking for help, but yet help shows up. So, but I noticed, because that lift took 5 months, and then talking to Todd, getting the thing, it just, I can't multitask. And the more I share that, the more I share that, and the more I say it, I don't care if you think I'm fine, but here's what's really going on. It just feels easier. So
I hear you. I totally hear you.
the MS lady, the navigator, had to wait, be nice, and say, I thought you said once you got the RX, you could look at other sources, because she named the previous one. So today she wrote back and said, I'm looking at this and that, and you can apply direct. And then I said, I don't know. Does the MS Foundation help with that? I mean, she's the navigator. That's her job.
How about just asking, how can I help you with these things, instead of just putting it on your lap, right?
Or I'm afraid to open up this email. It might be spam. Oh, I can't get the secure message email And can't she just fax it? Can't you just work that out with her, not me?
I'm going crazy on my snacks, you guys. I gotta go. My husband's got dinner in the other room,
I know now
and
it's like an hour late, an hour
mm,
afterwards, but it was a
it's
good
been a
session. My
it's
friend
been a
listens in.
good
She
session.
said the last one was terrific. She always she listens afterwards.
Well, I
And I'm
hope
gonna
you all.
get a raspberry beret color. And because that was another thing with Todd. I was like, look, she said it had midnight blue. He goes, oh, let me change that. Let me put the purchase order in. Let me do that. He said it takes 15 days, and that because they have a big contract with Kaiser, the company makes a priority. At least he said it. It's like if it doesn't happen, at least he said it. I just feel like heard. And
Well, it's coming though. Hey, like that's exciting.
but then how am I going to get anywhere?
Oh, that's why you're accepting the handy dart or whatever you called it.
The paratransit.
Yeah,
And I changed
that's
my
what
bed
they're there
around.
for.
I changed my bed around thinking it would be better for the wheelchair, but it gets me out on the weak side of my bed, so that's not going to work.
Mm.
This just, and for a social worker to just say, I don't have time for what? I mean, this is what you're supposed to help something. And I asked her, yeah, isn't this? And my therapist said, I was very clear asking her, so what kind of things can you help somebody with? She said, well, if somebody's homeless and they don't have a place to live, I can refer them back to their doctor and tell them that. It's like, lady, you are useless. And I'm just being more clear. Like, no, I do need a social worker and someone has to help me figure this out.
Do you have an occupational health therapist around?
What's that?
I don't know what they're
Oh,
called
no,
there.
occupational. No, no, I mean, that doesn't
See,
really, an occupation, because it's not like, it's not, no, I mean,
but
because I don't have,
they're the ones that kind of like set up the chair and make sure that you have what you
oh,
need
no,
and
that's
all that.
Todd, the wheelchair guy. He's the assistive technology professional.
Mm.
And so, he went through that when he was here, but I wasn't expecting any of it.
You need a
And
nurse, Karen. You know, a social worker can only do a certain amount, but a nurse can understand the whole picture, like talking about the systemic kind of communication and so.
yeah, exactly. But my San Francisco social worker was the best. That my therapist got jealous. I'm like, Lupita's the best. And she goes, oh, really? She never does anything wrong? I said, well, sometimes she forgets to call me. And she goes, oh, and you're okay with that? I'm like, so she makes up for it. She was amazing because she got me too. And during COVID, I've never seen her. She spent 2 hours on the phone. She was at home and she shares about herself. And she said, I said, I know I've never seen you and we can do video, but I know you're at home and you can just do stuff at home because I appreciate that. And but I've talked to two other social workers since then, and one did help me with something, and then another one called. I got referred to the really bad social worker, and someone called, and I said, well, I had Lupita before, and she was so amazing. And I said, I know some social workers just give you lists and they hand out things, and I had Lupita, and she was just so amazing. She goes, isn't she? She's my best friend. I'm like, I wanted to be my best friend. Like, you can be a professional and still disclose things like that. You could still be personal.
Mhm.
I don't think, like I don't take advantage. If I'm going to manipulate or take advantage of it. And and a lot of my providers now, they confide in me, and it surprises me. It just really surprises me how
Well, you obviously have a trusting aura or energy that they are receiving, like
yeah,
people
but I
don't just
didn't.
share stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and it's because I'm not a boundary buster. It's just because I'm angry and I demand things, but I'm not cursing them out. I'm not, I'm just, yeah. But I have to defend, well, Carmen, I have to defend Lupita because she's amazing. And, and B, but even Dr. Marcus said, well, she's in San Francisco. Maybe we can get in touch and find out, why can't she be your social worker still? But I was like, okay, but maybe not her, but what about her best friend? Or the other one. And so I still feel like if it's possible, my team will help make that happen. And the one who's giving me the commode, she sent me a list of caregivers because that she had for her partner, and so that's
Good.
kind of something that I need. So I just feel like, oh, wow,
Yeah.
wow, I'm getting those things in other ways.
Yeah.
That's
If I didn't have my husband, I mean, I would have caregivers here already. There's no question about it. I've
You
hired
would
a
have
lady
what?
to, pardon?
What would you say if you didn't have your husband? You would what?
If I didn't have my husband, I would need to hire caregivers at this
But you
point.
have to supervise them, and you have to find. And I did reach out. I reached out
No,
to
I
a
know
few.
it's not just super easy, but when you find the
And
right person, though, it's going to be very beneficial, Karen.
yeah, and and then my friend said, but it's expensive. And it's like, your partner just died with a will without a trust, and you didn't hire anybody. That's crazy. And now you're going to wait and now, like, he didn't, it's like, why didn't you just get somebody in there? But I know her, so I know how she is. So I'm looking, and I have reached out to two different people,
Good.
but when I have to hold the navigator's hand, I don't have the energy or the social emotional skill
Yeah,
to
one
have.
thing at a time. You have to just get through one thing at a time. Like I just I finished helping my husband get his application for disability for like the provincial or actually federal disability. So I feel like I've just accomplished like climbing a mountain, and now I can get onto my own things. Like I couldn't
Yeah,
concentrate on something else while I was in the middle of all those forms and helping him. There's no way. Like that's a
yeah,
whole different,
we
like
can't
if I was
multitask.
working, there's no way I could be working. Like the new number of projects and different things going on at the same time, my brain just can't do that anymore.
Yeah,
And that's just my reality. So, but
yeah, and
anyway,
that's
I
like,
really need to go.
yeah.
Like I know I keep talking, but I'm
And Rick
sorry.
doesn't get it either. He's like, Karen, can you? And it's like, Rick, you don't understand. But I told my neurologist, I said, look, I said, nobody gets it. I mean, I think Sarah, the nurse, gets it because I said, you don't really get it. And I said, and maybe you get it because your mother has MS, but trust me, you don't get it until it happens to you. You don't get what this means. It's just, you don't get it. You hear about it, but you don't.
It's after 10 o'clock my time, and I
All
am
right. Thank you
exhausted.
so
So
much.
I'm going to cut off. You guys have a great rest of the
You've been
week,
a
and I hope
good
to see
sport,
you in
Kim.
Yeah, you've
3 weeks.
been a good sport.
Yeah, I'm leaving too. Bye guys.
Bye
Okay.
bye.
We'll catch up in 3 weeks.